Okay, so we've got one more talk, and then I'm going to play a short video. Our next speaker is Russ Teubner. He's the founder and CEO at HostBridge. So Russ, coming up. Let me get your slides going here. And do you want to do this one?
While he's doing that, let me just say thank you very much, Dave, for the opportunity to be here today and to give this brief presentation. We were a late joiner to the lightning talk today, so I was sitting in the back of the room scrambling to put together a set of slides. So I really appreciate the opportunity. I don't presume that anyone here maybe has heard of HostBridge technology. We hang out in a technology space that may be very foreign to many of you. It happens to be the IBM mainframe technology space, but we're here to talk about to become part of the Redis community because of the work that we've done. This is who we are. We are all about integration of large-scale IBM mainframes for domestic and multinational organizations, the kind that are big enough to have IBM System Z hardware on the floor. We are driven by the idea of doing precision integration. And as you'll see, we have a certain axe to grind in this particular space. We serve lots of large organizations, many of the ones that you either work with, work for, would like to work for, whatever. And we have strong technology partnerships with IBM. If I could net it out, if I'm at a cocktail party and someone, a non-technology person says, what do you do for a living? And you know the answer to that is you don't really tell them what you do for a living. Otherwise, the conversation ends right there and everyone goes away. I just kind of say, well, we're like civil engineers. We build bridges using software for large organizations. And the bridge is usually between some existing application or legacy system and something very new, like Redis, like mobile apps, like web apps, like fill in the blank. So I argue in all of my presentations at various technical conferences and with customers, I argue for a couple of things, and that is that first and foremost, the bad integration techniques have given mainframe apps a black eye, a bad rap. In fact, I've personally gone into many large organizations who are in the process of decommissioning large-scale mainframe applications because they felt like they had no other option to do that. And in reality, when you dug through all the technology carnage that was on the floor, it all stemmed from, or that perception stemmed from, some very poor choices about how you integrate with legacy applications. Our view, however, is that System Z apps should start embracing the exact same technologies that are revolutionizing the development of mobile and cloud-based apps. That includes JavaScript, that includes Redis, that includes lots of things where you can fill in the blank. We think this enhances System Z as a system of record. We think it decreases the complexity. You would not imagine, or maybe you would, the degree of complexity that is built up inside large organizations around mainframe systems and applications. It is like blockage in a coronary artery. And part of our job, or half the time, we go in and we actually try to clean out that artery. We also think it can lower the cost. Like everyone else, we have an architecture diagram, and I won't go into it, but suffice it to say that the key platform for our architecture of integration on the IBM mainframe is an implementation of server-side JavaScript. We got into this business many years ago trying to be kind of the wild and crazy people in the mainframe space and bringing technology to the platform that simply wasn't there but should be. And so we are the caretakers of the SpiderMonkey port that runs natively on ZOS. And many organizations, many things that you've done today have been facilitated by server-side JavaScript running on a mainframe. But we think there's some other fertile ground. In fact, when we've dealt with a lot of organizations, and we know that what they really want is to use their system of record, sometimes which exists on mainframes, to be able to enrich mobile web applications, enrich the user experience. However, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a conversation that goes something like this, where you get a bunch of technologists and business people in the room, and they're arguing about the marginal cost of sending yet one more DB2 query or executing one more transaction on the back-end system. And it's the fact that that marginal cost of doing that one thing to enrich the user experience gives rise to a phenomenon that we've all seen, and that is the massive replication of data that occurs every night in large organizations across the globe. One study recently said that over 25%, in fact up to 30% of all MIPS used on IBM mainframe platforms was somehow, some way accountable to replicating data. Just think of the cost of that. Staggering. So we think that there's obviously some much better ways to do with that, and our contribution to that is to really bring Redis to the z/OS platform and modernize in that way. Now, obviously, I'm not going to tell you anything about Redis, but when I stand in front of people who came from a mainframe background, I'm in educational mode. I have to tell them what it is. And if there's one thing, parenthetically, that I would just like to ask for us as a community, as a Redis community to do, is come up with a very cohesive, succinct value proposition for what Redis is. Because when you walk into an organization, when I walk into the office, let's say of American Express, and I'm talking to the database administrator, and I say, well, Redis is a blah, 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 blah. As soon as I utter the word database, I've entered a political demilitarized zone, right? Because there are all sorts of forms in the organizational chart that are in charge of database administration or of this product or of that product or whatever. And as a result, certain technologies like Redis often are kind of stillborn from the start because we have a hard time enunciating exactly what it is we offer the organization. So the big news here, really, for this audience, all I want you to be familiar with is the fact that Redis now exists on the one major operating system platform that it didn't, and that is it now runs natively on z/OS. Not only that, it also, our business partner of IBM, we are authorized to run our software on what's called a specialty engine, specifically a zip, Z-I-I-P. That means that any code that's running on a zip is not charged or is not subject to software costs for MIPS consumed on that. So that means that Redis running on System Z is, dare I say, virtually free. I'll just throw the virtually thing. As you would expect, Redis looks like this on Windows, and lo and behold, it looks the exact same way running on an IBM mainframe. And if anyone has ever logged in the mainframe, you've seen a screen that looks like this. It's Redis. If I really want to weird people out when I'm doing a demo, I show them interacting with Redis while logged into TSO. That usually gets a few eyebrows raised. But along the way, we did have to enhance Redis in certain ways to make it a little bit mainframe-ish. Things stop a little bit differently. So you can see some of the things that we did to enhance that, and we'll continue to keep those up to date. There are all sorts of configurations that you can do with Redis inside of a mainframe. And remember, a mainframe is a very highly virtualized environment. We've got layers upon layers and boxes upon virtual boxes all over the place. So these next few diagrams are not, I'm not going to say much about them, but I could just as easily run a single instance of Redis on a large mainframe, and I could run multiples. Or for that matter, I could partition that IBM mainframe and run part of it using the Linux 1 environment, part of it using Z Linux, part of it over here using a different LPAR priced using IBM's mobile workload pricing. And I can use Redis as the common denominator for sharing data, not just from the mainframe to the outside world, but also inside the mainframe. We also think it fits the real world. This is actually a little more accurate, although we're only missing about 1,000 boxes and arrows. So here's the status, and that is that both 31-bit and 64-bit versions are available now. We'll be announcing at a trade show coming up in about 45 days that we're going to make the 31-bit version free. We want to promote this thing. And it'll kind of be a customer self-service model. Our goal is to evangelize all this. We got a lot of work in progress, done a lot of things already. But the bottom line is we think large organizations need the kind of technology, need Redis, need JavaScript, need things that build bridges between their existing legacy application environments and the modern world which you all live in. And with that, thank you very much.